Yeah, I think 101, you've got to know where your data is. And to know where your data is, you've got to know what your data is. So under GDPR and data protection legislation, you need what we call an information asset register anyway. And you've got to run what's called DPIAs. So they're data protection impact assessments, all these things which are acronyms that sound really confusing and terrifying. It's not what it can literally be an Excel spreadsheet that says this is the information we hold and this is where it is. We've got a CRM, we've got our HR data, we've got our so just the things you have. That's really important. You've got to know where your data is. Then you've got to know what your users are doing with your data and who has access to it. That's really important as well. So who's got the data and what they're doing with it. Are they putting it on their laptops? Are they putting it in file shares? Are they being really helpful and creating cloud file accounts so that they can work harder and share data with their colleagues, but actually you don't know that they're creating these cloud shares, and therefore your data is just drifting off into these different locations. Okay, so understanding your data, understanding where your data is, and understanding who's got access to it is absolutely critical to your security platform and how you do that. And again, it can be an Excel spreadsheet to start with. It doesn't need to be complicated, but that will also help you understand where you should, if you have any budget, where you spend that budget. If you know what is your risky data, and you know what data is got the biggest risk to yourself as a business, both from losing that data if it got out ever, but also if it got compromised and got ransomware or locked, those kind of things. You're going to know where to have spent your data from a recovery perspective as well, so that you can get it back as quickly as possible and keep the business going. So that's important. Diversification is something we talk about as well for small to medium businesses. It's now very easy to diversify your platforms, to have your email in a different place to where your files are, to have your files in a different place to where your CRM or your core platform is, your application platforms are, so that if you lose one of them in any kind of attack or any kind of outage, it doesn't need to be a cyber attack. It could be a fire, it could be an internet outage, it could be that one of these applications just goes down for an afternoon because of a technical failure. You don't lose your entire business in one go. The days of having all your data on one server in the office are done. And, if it's on your server, you've got to spend all the time patching it, looking after it, securing it, all these kind of things. Whereas the big SaaS platforms, which we call them, is software as a service. So that will be cloud-based platforms. They do a lot of that for you, so you need to check that, and you should be sure that you're happy with the platform, but they do a lot of the hard work for you to make sure your data is secure and is there. Ultimately though, you've got to have a backup of it all. So you need to have a backup which is robust and in multiple locations. So you can't just have a backup in the same location as your actual environment. It should be automatic nowadays as well. So the days of switching disks out or switching tapes out every once a month or once a week are done. Online backup is so cheap nowadays. It's pence per gigabyte of data up in the cloud, and it really is ultimately it's your get out of jail free card. It's the one that will save you when it goes wrong. And I think the message we need to say to everyone today is it's not a case of if it goes wrong, it's when it goes wrong. These things aren't optional anymore. As small businesses and medium businesses, the bad guys are there and they're not going anywhere, and someone will fall prey to this. So you need to have the right pieces in place to make recovery from that as quick as possible and make the impact of that cyber attack as small as possible. Okay, so so having a robust backup is your get out of jail free card when it goes wrong, and it needs to be to the cloud, and it needs to be diverse, and it needs to be automatic, and then fundamentally it needs to be checked. You need to check that what is backing up is, going back to our previous comment, the data you want being backed up and the data you need being backed up as a business, and that it is recoverable. So you need to do recovery tests of that, once a month, once a quarter, once a year, whatever you feel is appropriate. You need to download that data and check that it actually is what it says it is, and it can be recovered. Again, I've lost track of the amount of times that we've seen, it all go wrong, and then when the business goes to look at what's there, something's updated, or they've been backing up a different thing. So it's been passing every night. It's been this has been backing up garbage or old data or something that isn't right. So you've got to check what's being backed up, and that's important for the business to understand as well as the people who are checking it.